What's up, everybody? I am your host, a naked guy swinging his dick around on the internet, and that is my co-host, a seriously dysfunctional random chat site. And welcome to the Grindhouse Syndicate, where today we hope your thirst for internet horror is strong, because we got a twisted film for you on this episode. We are covering, in my opinion, is a true hidden gem amongst many shitty internet found footage films. Zachary Donohue's The Den from 2013.
I was really hoping you were going to make me a dick puppet. I was so confident.
Oh man, that was a good one, yeah.
I was just so confident I was going to be a dick puppet.
And this is my co-host, a dick puppet.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Forgot about that. Good God, what a mind fuck this is. Truly. After watching this, I wanted to throw out my computer and phone. And even move to the fucking mountains or something. This movie fucks me up.
Well, if you throw out the computer, I think the show's done. It'd be really hard to do it without a computer.
Yeah, we'll just do it on old reel, radio, the old radio shows. And we'll just send the reel to someone in the city, a city boy. Be like, put that on the interwebs for us.
And they'll be like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
This is ancient. Outdated stuff. I don't know how this works.
No, man, this movie's scary. This movie really freaks me out. It is one of the few movies where I could see it being real. I could see it being very realistic because I'm not a computer guy. I don't know, when I watch this movie, I don't know what is in the realm of possibility and what isn't.
Well, I think what makes this movie very scary for me, kind of what you were just alluding to, we know that this is possible. Whether this happens or not, this is a 100% possibility. People can hack into people's computers and hack into their webcams, and it's really, if you know what you're doing, it's not outside of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that whole controlling someone else's computer from your computer, if you're the hacker, is a real thing. You can remotely hack into someone's computer and move their fucking mouse around and click shit.
My job does it. They have the program where they go in on my computer if I have to contact them, and they can literally control my computer. They tell you that they have a thing come up when they're controlling it, so you know that if you need to close your webcam or not, if you don't want to be on webcam. So yes, they can access all that. It's the technology's definitely out there. I think if there's anything, when Snowden came out and not only said how easy it is to tap into somebody's phone or computer and to be able to access their camera, all their search history.
Scary.
You can listen to them, you can track them through GPS, you can see what they see, and you can literally pretty much read their mind based off of their internet search history. And I forgot who he did his interview with whenever he came forward, but the device to do it was accessible to anybody. If you had I think it was $5,000 or something. I could be off on that. Could have been $30,000. I don't know. I just remember him talking about the thing you needed to buy to do it, and it was possible for anybody who knew what they were doing with computers to buy it and to be able to do it.
Yeah, this is why I wanted to do this movie, because this is one of the few movies that I watch most of my horror movies because they're entertaining. They're not scary. I find them fun. I've been watching them since I was a child. Very few movies genuinely scare me, and this is one of them that freaks me out, man. This is especially, and I'm not gonna bust it open yet, but the ending.
Yeah.
And I'm just oh my God, this is so much worse than you thought it was.
Yeah, I got some comments on that too that kind of allude to what we were just talking about that I want to wait till we get to the end of the plot for. But yes, the realism in this movie is what really makes it scary.
Gives me the creeps. But first, if you want to stay up to date on what is going on with us or the show, talk about or submit your movie request, or just say hey, you can always find us at one of our social media accounts or our official website at Grindhouse.Horror.Pod.com. Facebook at the Grindhouse Syndicate Horror Podcast, Instagram at Grindhouse.Syndicate.Horror.Pod, and many more, which you can find links for in the show notes as always. And please subscribe or follow for alerts on new episodes. And if you really love us and don't want us to have to go on a random chat site to get some fans, give us a review. So, The Den, aka Hacked, is a 2013 American slasher film by Zachary Donohue and his feature film directorial debut. The film is shot in screen life and found footage style, even going as far as having the actors shoot much of the footage themselves, including filming a lot of the movie on Skype. It was given a simultaneous limited theatrical and VOD release on March 14th of 2014 through IFC Midnight. It stars Melanie Papalia as a young woman who discovers a murder via a webcam. The film explores the themes of social media, computer hacking, voyeurism, the deep web, filmed deaths in the style of a snuff film, and kidnapping. All things that freak me out,
Yes.
including social media.
Yeah. So what did you call it? Found footage? You called it screen?
It's called Screen Life, which
Screen
is
life.
when
Okay. So
you
there's enough of them now where there's an actual name for it. I assume it's like the computer, because there's a couple different movies that
like
have done it.
Unfriended, yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's basically a movie that's primarily filmed through people interacting with their screens of their devices.
Like a webcam.
Phone, yeah, all that kind of stuff. It's like a subgenre of a subgenre, so found footage, and it's a subgenre like Screen Life.
Yeah, I'd never heard that term before.
I hadn't
That's
either.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't either. It was written by Zachary Donohue and Lauren Thompson, produced by Cliff Brook and Onset Films, and distributed by IFC Midnight. IFC Midnight's got some bangers, man. They got some, none of them are like great films, but there's some good ones. There's some really, I don't know. Some of them are great because I'm pretty sure that the Autopsy of Jane Doe is an IFC Midnight movie.
Yeah, there's a couple of them actually that are, I would say, above average movies.
There's another really good one that I eventually want to cover called Fear Inc.
That was the first one that came to mind.
Yes, that's good.
Fear Inc.
That'd be a really fun to cover here on the show.
That's one I haven't seen actually in a while since I bought it. Been quite a few years.
It had a budget of $500,000 and a gross box office of $410,000 and is 81 minutes long. So it lost money, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's unfortunate when you see these, God, you have to cut. What's that new movie called?
Imaginary? $84 million.
Yeah, it sucks when you see movies like Imaginary, which make $84 million in the box office and just absolutely crush it next to their budget. And then you see a movie that's actually pretty good. It's just, I don't know what it was. Maybe it didn't get the...
Well, it was limited in the theaters. That's another thing. I don't know how many theaters it was, but it got a limited theatrical release. But the biggest part of the release was actually VOD, and you don't have a box office from VOD. So this number is a little, I would say it's not accurate. Like I wouldn't trust it. Yeah, it almost made its budget back in theaters, but imagine how many more people seeing this at home.
Yeah.
When I first watched it, I streamed it. I want to say it was Netflix back in the day. We've talked about this before when we were young and poor and didn't have any cable or anything. We essentially just watched movies. That's typically, we didn't watch shows. We didn't watch regular TV. We just watched movies. And this was one of I think at that time, all we had was Netflix. And this was one of the movies where I'm like burning through every horror movie Netflix has, and I came across it, and it was always stuck in my mind.
Yeah, that was back when Netflix was
was good.
was the premier streaming. That was back when people talked about that streaming was eventually going to turn into cable because there was going to be all these streaming companies come forward. That was before that time, and people were right. Now it's essentially like cable.
Yeah, this time when I watched this movie, this was around the same time that we were discovering movies like Creep. Hush was another one that we
Yeah.
watched. There was like a bunch of them that are kind of smaller movies, but are really good, and most people don't talk about them.
Yeah, that was back when Netflix, I remember we would watch movies and go tell each other about
Yep.
this awesome movie we found on Netflix. And 1922 was Netflix only.
Yeah, there's
That one's a banger. Well, Fear Street too. I mean, we get some now. Every now and then, Netflix will have like the Fear Streets were a banger that came out recently on Netflix. But back then, there was just so many of these not known movies that you could find, and unfortunately, Netflix just, I don't know if they quit pulling on as many horror movies. Maybe it was because of other streaming companies got so big
I think
and
that's
were
what it
willing to
was.
pay more money for them. It's just not one of their priorities, clearly.
So, according to Zachary Donohue, he got the idea for the story when he and his girlfriend slash co-writer, Lauren Thompson, moved to a new city where she got a new job at a small website company similar to Chat Roulette. When one day, Lauren came home and mentioned to Zachary, "What if one day I was talking to someone and they got murdered?"
Hmm.
Yeah, so this idea was birthed out of kind of a realistic possibility.
Thought you were going to say he was eating her out on the bed and she was, what if somebody was watching us through that camera?
Yeah, so I just thought that was interesting. I think that's why they were able to put this movie together so good, is because the co-writer obviously worked in that field. So I think that adds that little bit of realism to it, where
Yeah.
she understands how these work and what they look like. Because when you're looking at the screen, like, it's very
My first thought in the beginning of this movie when because I watched this a long time ago too. We had talked about this, but I didn't really remember it in great detail. I couldn't remember my thoughts on the first time I watched it, but fortunately I didn't remember it in detail enough to really spoil anything for myself. And my first thought was, wow, she's going to see a lot of dicks.
Yep.
And they nailed that.
Yep.
Lots of dicks.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that later on. So, ratings, Rotten Tomato, this thing got a 76%. I like it.
Mm.
IMDb gave it a 6 out of 10. Letterboxd gave it a 2.9 out of 5. You do better, Letterboxd. You do better than that.
Get your fucking shit together.
And the Google average audience rating is, we don't have an average audience rating from them, but we do have 74% of users liked this movie. If you would like to watch this movie, you can currently find it streaming on AMC Plus and available for rent on Apple and Amazon for $3.99. I picked up a copy of the DVD for, I want to say, $10 on Amazon. It's definitely a good addition to the collection, because this is, I bet you in 10 years, you aren't going to be able to hardly find a copy of that. It's a
Yeah.
very small budgeted movie.
Probably not a mass production on distribution for that movie.
If you look at the case, like, I don't know if you've seen the case when I brought it over there to you, it's very kind of a bland case. And that what's on the case is not even the movie poster or anything. Like, when I originally went to go buy it, I wasn't positive I was buying the movie I was thinking of, because it looked so different. It's
They're
not,
like, look, we're $70,000 in the
yeah.
hole in this fucking thing. We don't have money for good cases.
Yeah, I was really excited. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to find it when I looked for it, but
Probably they didn't send it in plastic sleeves or like the paper sleeve. You don't even get a
Yeah.
case. They're like, we're
Just a-
trying to recoup our money.
just a burnt disc with like "The Den" written in marker on it.
Just written really shitty too.
All right, so ready to do some plot? You ready to talk about this movie?
Yeah, let's talk about some dicks. But apparently you said we're going to talk more about that later on.
I have a little
Probably
bit of
won't be the first time.
I had a one. There's not a ton of stuff on this movie, like the production or anything, but I was able to find an interesting quote talking about the dicks. So I do have that at the end.
We don't get much special features, but we do get a nice bit of information on the dicks in the movie.
Yeah.
Good to know. The best dick of the movie, gotta say. Not much on judging dicks. Not at all.
Was the puppet
The
dick?
puppet dick. The puppet dick was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I like the puppet dick.
I would have laughed my ass off at the puppet dick.
That was a good addition.
I'm exploding at the seams for more puppet dick.
The Den 2 puppet dick. So the movie immediately starts out on a computer screen where we see username Elizabeth B logging onto a website named The Den. And we see our main character, Elizabeth Benton, appear on a small window on the bottom left of the screen. And as the main screen remains black with a loading symbol spinning around and the words "talk to someone" displayed.
So this is kind of like a Omegle, something like that.
What's Omegle? What is that?
The only name of a random chat thing that I can think of.
Oh, only one I know of is Chat Roulette. I never heard of that.
Chat roulette. I think they're kind of the same thing. Omegle, chat roulette.
Oh, no.
Yeah, just random chat rooms.
I cannot see a desire to get on that.
No, I hate talking to people like in real life. Why would I want to talk to strangers that I don't know on a webcam? Especially when like a quarter of them are like old creepy guys with their dick out.
If you don't know this about us, we do not really like social media. The only social media that I have come to enjoy is literally interacting with fans of the show or other horror movie fans on other pages. Other than that, don't care about it.
Well, yeah, that's because they're our type of people.
They're our type of people.
They are our people.
And I love to hear other people's perspective on things and what they think or what they liked. You know, I like to hear all that, but yeah, just regular people. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, if I go into Walmart, most likely the people I run into aren't going to be super big horror movie fans.
Most likely not.
Yeah, definitely don't want to get on a chat roulette type thing and talk to random people about nothing. But if that's your thing, that's your thing.
Yeah. So the first person that she gets on this random video chat is like a 15-year-old boy, and she says that she is looking to make new friends, and he is definitely down. But he tells her that he has a monster in his closet. I thought he was going to show her his dick or something. I totally thought that's where this was going. I mean, you got a teenage boy, and he comes across this obviously, 24-year-old, 25-year-old college student. Pretty attractive. Yeah, that's where I thought this was going. 100%.
Thought he was gonna try to see her naked. I don't know as much as showing him his little kid dick.
Well,
it's a grown woman.
Yeah, I mean, but when he said I have a monster in my closet, I was like, is it your dick?
Okay.
Is it your dick that's the monster?
This kid looked. I'm gonna say this. The scariest part of this was the fact that this kid looked like he had one giant tooth. I don't know if you noticed that. You couldn't see the gaps in his teeth. I thought he was wearing a fucking mouthpiece at first.
So he then picks up the camera and he takes it towards the closet to show her. And once in the closet, all we see is like a bunch of clothes and kid shit. And he spins the camera back towards himself. And we see a creepy ass old lady jump scare us all. And then the screen goes black. I had to get that creepy old lady in.
Yeah, if she was naked, it would have been a lot scarier.
Couldn't tell because she was like behind him.
Could have been naked.
It was a good jump scare though.
It was. This would have freaked me out.
So next we see her attending a video conference with 3 old white guys and 2 women, all looking very professional. We find out that this is a college and she is proposing doing a study for the school where she stays logged into the chat site, The Den, 24/7 for the next few months. Ugh. Sounds like a torture.
Sounds like an easy fucking job to get paid for, though.
Meeting and talking to as many like new people as she can, all while her computer records all the interactions. My first thought was why? Like what would you get out of kind of seeing how shitty and disgusting like humans are on the internet? Like
Yeah, I don't get
where's the value in this?
why a university would put money into paying her to do this.
I I don't think that you have to be a genius to know that humans on the internet not a good mix. People are fucking terrible on the internet because they can hide behind their screens, hide behind their keyboards. There's no accountability. So it's awful. And then also there's the whole thing of a lot of men are fucked up and kind of perverted. And anytime you put, perversion and no accountability together, it's not going to be good. And she should have known this.
Yeah, my first thought, like I said earlier, put in my notes, she's going to see a lot of dicks. That is undoubtedly the case, and that's what happened. So whenever this gets approved, the lady who video chats her instead of like emailing or calling her, she video chats her and tells her, yeah, they really see the value in this, but she never explains what the value was. I was very curious of why they would put a bunch of money into this.
The only thing I could think of is like ads. Something to do with like if you could figure out a new way to sell people shit. That's like targeted ads. That's the only thing I could think of that you could possibly get out of having a conversation with random people for months. For constant. I mean, you would, talk to thousands of people at some point. And I guess the best information you could gather was, I don't know, how to fucking get them to buy shit, because that's typically what companies care about. How to cram more shit into your computer screen
Well,
to get you to
it
buy
would make
stuff.
more sense, like in that case, if she was like surveying these people, or she had some type of structured conversation that she had with them to get some type of analytics. But she's just having just random conversations with people.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So after the proposal, the old white guys take some time to decide if they want to back Elizabeth's plan. We see her waiting around nervously for a response when eventually her contact for the school, Sally Winters, video chats her and tells her that she got a yes and will be receiving the grant in order to move forward with the project. We then get introduced to her boyfriend Damien, who works in like an office type job, and we also see her chatting with her friend Max. And from their conversation, he helps her with like the IT and the technical aspects of her like recording software. So next we see her hop on the den and scroll through some people. And of course, she mostly comes across perverted gross dudes. One guy is just swinging his dick around like a windmill.
Yep, that's probably half of what she came across.
Yep.
Was windmill dick.
Windmill dicks. Generating energy for all of us. Clean energy.
If only we could power the entire world by just spinning our dicks a couple times a day.
Can you imagine if like that's how you powered your house every morning, just got up, put a wire to your dick, swung it around, and you got power for the day.
If you have
Good to go.
if you have a little dick, are you constantly losing power?
The RPM's got to be higher. Smaller penises.
Go get your big dick neighbor. Like, can you give me some spins over here, bro? I'm tired of the lights flickering.
So we then meet another character, Elizabeth's good friend, Jenny. And Jenny has come over to have some drinks and watch some like random people on the den. And after scanning through mostly dumbass people doing dumbass people stuff, they come across a still picture of a girl standing in front of a pond with the username in the corner of the screen that says Paya Girl 16. And after a few seconds of like nothing happening, Jenny hits the skip button, but soon after we see the Paya Girl 16 account reappear. So the reason this is like odd is because out of all the people on this chat site, the odds of getting like the same person, especially within the same 5 minutes, it's got to be huge. Like, that's
Yeah.
gotta be, like, soon as I seen that, I would instantly be like, "What the fuck?" Like, that would instantly throw me off. Unless it was, like, a really small site that, like, nobody knew, but it seems like this is a pretty big site. I think this is, like, in their world, like, the chat roulette of
I
because
think
her
they show
boyfriend's
it.
on it and everything, Max is on it, like, they all have accounts on this fucking site.
I thought they showed at one point that it showed that there was like 49,000 people active or
Probably.
something. So, yeah, the chances of coming across the same person back to back is extremely slim. But also, when they write you and they're like, "Don't skip me, bitch,"
Yeah.
that's pretty alarming.
So Jenny is kind of like, what the fuck? You know, she's kind of like us. And when suddenly we see a message appear from this account that says, "Don't click off this time, you dumb bitch," and "You're an ugly cunt." Jenny quickly exits out of the den as Elizabeth returns from the bathroom. Yeah, that would freak me out. That would. You know what I really don't get is like on these video chat things, you should be really sketched out when people are writing you and they give you that stupid excuse of their webcam being broken.
Yeah, that comes up a couple times in this movie too. Like, anytime somebody's webcam's off, it's like, "Oh, your webcam's broken? Why the fuck are you on a video chat site talking to strangers if your webcam's broken?"
I've
That makes
had
no sense.
I've had like 4 laptops. The one of the things that never breaks is the webcam.
Maybe back in the day, the webcams were just weak.
Maybe.
I don't know. It just still makes no sense. Of one thing that this movie does not take into account hardly is cell phones.
Yeah, I
It's like
mean it
she
was
talks to all her friends and the people, and even when like emergencies are going on, why would you jump on a video chat website to contact? Why wouldn't you just pick up your phone and call somebody?
yeah, I thought about that earlier and I don't know, maybe there's maybe there's a lot of people that communicate that way. I don't
Or
know.
maybe it just didn't make sense to the plot, so
Yeah.
they didn't put it in there.
So we then see Elizabeth try to log back in, but she gets an incorrect password notification and her screen goes black. So later on that night, we see that Elizabeth is sleeping in her bed when her computer cuts back on and opens the den on its own. So she's obviously been hacked at this point. We then see Paya Girl 16's account picture appear in the bottom of her screen and start to hear a woman crying in pain. This sound pretty quickly wakes Elizabeth up, and as soon as she makes it to her computer to investigate, the sound and the picture disappear. This would scare the shit out of me if
Yep.
this woke me up. I would fucking disconnect my computer from the internet and I'd turn it off.
Yeah, same.
No fucking way that I would leave my computer hooked up there in my bedroom like that after hearing that.
Yeah, my first thought is, for one, how fucking creepy that would be, because you know you got hacked. Then it's some like creepy shit, like some girl screaming in the background that wakes you up. Yeah, I would be putting that computer outside of my home.
The realm of it being a joke, I mean, that's a pretty good possibility. People like to fuck with people all the time, but that doesn't matter. Like, that would still freak me out because it might not be a joke, and I don't want to hear that shit in the middle of the night when I'm fucking sleeping.
Yeah, the issue with that too is if somebody is that good where they can hack your computer, take it over completely, they probably can locate you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So that would be where that's very alarming, especially as a female living by herself. Seems like it's probably not a very good thing.
So the next day, she FaceTimes her IT friend Max to ask him about the computer turning on by itself and if he, by any chance, hacked her. He says no to both and just kind of like blows it off as kind of like a glitch or mistake because they haven't really got to the point where, oh, she's hacked. Like they just think something happened with the website and it just automatically connected her to somebody. And that's just, yeah, I don't know. That's a bit of a stretch for me, but
You would think her IT friend would be like, "No, that doesn't happen."
well, I honestly, every time I watch this movie,
Yep.
because I
I know what you're
think
going to say.
he's fucking in on it.
Yep. Yep. I know what you're going to say. I had that in my notes a little further down in the movie, in the plot. But yeah, I didn't remember this. Like I said earlier, I didn't remember this in detail very much. And I thought he was in on it. He is clearly friend zoned. He
Yep.
seems to have a thing for her, and she doesn't for him. And it just made sense. He's like the only guy in the movie who's super tech savvy. And I thought for sure he's in on this.
Yeah, and another thing with her is like she only contacts him when she needs him. So I think that in her idea they're friends, but in reality, your friend doesn't only contact you when they need you to do something for them. There's not a lot of just general conversation about things other than her computer, her IT stuff, her study.
Well, I think she's kind of selfish because she's kind of like that with her boyfriend too.
Yeah.
I think it's really weird. Kind of her interactions with her boyfriend. I did think it was weird. Like her and Max are obviously pretty close friends, but because when she got the grant, I noticed she contacted him before she contacted her boyfriend about it. And then he's clearly like, let's get together and party. And she's like, no, she shut that shit down.
Yeah.
Friend zoned.
So I want to point out here because when she like video chats or video call, whatever it's called, when she like video calls him, he is like outside exercising. I don't know if you picked up on this, but where Max is walking around is the same place in the background of Paya Girl 16's picture.
No.
Yeah, so has a big like man-made lake, and there's like a running path, sidewalk that goes around it, and then there's like trees and grass, little area all around it. And I watched it twice, and I was like, that's the same place.
That's interesting.
That's another reason why I
I
thought he was in on it.
So, obviously we know in the plot later on what happens. So him being in on it aside, that is actually a really good hint that Pyra Girl lives in LA. She
Yeah.
lives very close to them, and which I didn't pick up on because you don't know that at this point in the movie. Obviously, later on, you know that she has to be somewhat close. But yeah, that's actually a really good hint that I didn't pick up on.
So later at the coffee shop, Elizabeth is back on the chat when Pyre Girl 16 pops up on her screen. She attempts to talk to her through her mic, but instead she receives an instant message asking if she minds if she types. After a moment of kind of like basic conversation, Hiya Girl abruptly leaves the chat. Later that night, Elizabeth gets a FaceTime from her boyfriend Damien, who is at his apartment. They chat for a bit, and we find out that Damien is actually supposed to leave out of town for work the next day. Soon as they said that, I knew he's going to disappear. Because that's every time they bring this into a movie and the guy disappears, the cops are never believe the main character because they're like, well, he's out of town. He's supposed to be gone anyway. Like maybe he's just out of town. He hasn't contacted you. That same bullshit we hear every time.
Yeah, we also find out he only lives 10 miles from her, and they never
Yeah.
see each other. I would think if I was him at this point that she really wasn't that much into the relationship if all she ever did was FaceTime him and he lives 10 miles away.
Yeah, that's weird.
And she could have went on the trip with him because
Did the same thing.
she can work from anywhere. All
Yeah.
she needs is her computer, and she's like, "No, fuck that."
So later on, while Elizabeth is asleep, we see her laptop turn back on again, but this time, someone picks it up and begins to carry it over to the bed. We then see a hand reach for the covers, pull them back to reveal her mostly nude legs. This hand then begins to gently caress her thigh until finally attempting to remove those panties.
Yeah, this is a like a big oh fuck moment, and this scene drags on. Very suspenseful. I'll give him that. Very, very suspenseful scene. When I first seen this, I was like, oh fuck. Like this just got real really quick. Like not only
Yeah.
do they know where she's at, but they have access to her apartment.
So Elizabeth quickly jumps up screaming and realizes that the intruder is just her boyfriend, Damien.
And Damien clearly wants to get shot.
That's what I put in my notes. Like, why the fuck would you think this was a good idea?
Yeah, absolutely not.
Okay, so despite the weird stuff that's happening with the computer, let's just say that didn't happen. You breaking in to someone's house and then like coming up on them while they're sleeping and then attempt to remove their underwear, not gonna go good in
Yeah,
any scenario.
in the dark.
That's not good.
This is how you get shot.
If you're thinking about doing this, take it from us. You should cancel that plans.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
I don't think there's many chicks that. I mean, there's some of them out there. Don't get me wrong. There's the average girl doesn't want their boyfriend to break in their house and make them think they're about to be raped.
Yeah, it's weird. So they basically fuck after this, though. So good for him. But right after things get like too hot and heavy, we see Elizabeth turn the computer off, this is very important. So the next day, we see Elizabeth's laptop start to log into the den, and we begin to get some recorded footage of Damien munching on those beef curtains.
Oh, that's gross.
He
Should say eating a fur burger. Or
he must be
something.
Australian because he's going down under.
I don't picture her as having like beef curtains.
Never know.
It's possible. I don't know. I thought she was cute.
So if you remember, though, like I said, she had turned her computer off. So someone has remotely hacked her computer and has recorded Damien in his V-Spot monologue. That was a good one.
V-Spot monologue. Doing some ice fishing.
But this hacker then opens up her email and sends it out to some people in her directory. I said, God damn, that's cold.
That is.
That's cold.
Well, this is like also where you know for sure now she is officially being hacked. Like it wasn't just a fuck up the first time, because we know she cut her computer completely off and now it cut back on, videoed her, and now has sent that out to, at this point in the movie, we have no idea. Well, we never actually learned, but some important people.
Yep. The next day, Elizabeth is on the den again and Pie Girl 16 pops up. And she asks Elizabeth if she likes the site, and she responds that she does. And Pie Girl says that she enjoys watching people, like when Elizabeth's boyfriend licked her pussy last night. Yeah.
Make some money off that video. It's already out there.
That would fucking stun me. I would be like, oh, what? Like, yeah. That's what I'm saying is time to close the computer, disconnect it, fucking put your phone in a fucking drawer or something, because things have gotten way too real.
Yeah.
Because
you kind of know that this particular pirate girl is the one hacking her too. Because she knows that she cut her computer off, and although she doesn't know there's a video of it, she knows that
they could watch her.
They clearly knew that she was getting her carpet munched.
Can you imagine how that would feel to know that some fucking weirdo, probably some like fat slob guy that fucking hasn't showered in a week and a half and stinks, is like is hacked into your computer and watching you, like, let alone like fucking, I mean, even just doing anything without you knowing that that's what they're doing. Like, that is gross. That just kind of, I would feel gross if I found out that someone was fucking watching me.
Yeah, the sex thing wouldn't even be my main concern. Probably if I was a female, it would be.
Yeah, for guys, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I that wouldn't be my big concern. My big concerns would be, how much are they watching me? And what else have they seen? And also, did they record the sex? Because that's obviously can be used for blackmail purposes and can ruin your life.
Yeah, it makes you feel like vulnerable. It makes you feel weird that somebody that you have no idea who they are or where they are in the world is literally watching you when you're just at your house doing things that you do and you have no idea.
And you know that they probably know where you live too at this point. So This is the point in the movie where she should have gotten rid of the laptop completely.
Or also got a gun.
Yes, got a gun. Yes, gun. She should have had a gun before the movie started, but she probably would have killed her boyfriend if she had a gun. So
That's
maybe
true.
not. Yeah, undoubtedly, like even if you kind of gave it the benefit of the doubt before, at this point, you need to quit this whole experiment. Not worth it.
So before Elizabeth can really react to this, suddenly Pia Girl 16 picture disappears and we see live footage of a girl strapped to a chair with duct tape over her mouth. And she is struggling to get free and it looks like she's in some kind of like abandoned building. A man in all black walks up behind her, slams her head onto the table, and points the camera down at her. We then see him grab a large knife and quickly slash her jugular vein in her throat, and a large amount of bright red blood comes gushing out.
A little bit too bright.
It was pretty neon red there. The camera then gets a close-up of the girl's face as she quickly bleeds to death before the account suddenly disconnects. And we see that Elizabeth is shocked. After a moment of silence, she jumps up and we hear her call the police as a message pops up on her screen that says, "Talk soon."
And what a surprise. The police are useless.
Yep.
One thing I don't understand about her whole interaction with the police, because I could see in real life the police probably would 100% be like, well, 90% of the time this stuff's staged. There's not a whole lot we can do about it. But why is she not stressing to the police that this person has hacked her, watched her at night on her computer, has her IP address, and probably has her location? Like, that is something I would be stressing. Like, even if you think that this murder is staged, this person knows where I live.
This person's still capable of something.
Yeah, and they know where I live. Like, that seems like something that she would stress to the police, but she never mentions that.
She's like so focused on the murder that she's not really thinking about the implications for her at this point. She's not thinking, why are these people showing me this? Why have they hacked my computer? Why have they showed me this? And it's like, well, I think things are going to get worse for you. I don't think she has really thought that far ahead yet.
Yeah, it seems like I would think the police would take this a little more serious if they knew that these people were, whoever was doing this, were really tech savvy and really capable and knew where this girl lived at. Like, they were obviously harassing her at this point. They have hacked in, watched her at night. They know where she lives. Seems like the police would at least put a little bit more resources into this. But I think you're right. I think she's so focused on the murder that she obviously just forgets to mention this to the police.
So later on that day, we see Elizabeth meeting with a detective, and although he agrees the footage looks authentic, they just don't have the resources to track down every possible crime on the internet. So now the cops have basically turned her away, and she turns to her friend Max. Because of his knowledge of computers and the internet, she asked him to try to find out who the murdered girl is. And even though he is reluctant to get involved at first because he already realizes this is probably not great. It's probably not a good group of people to be fucking with. A man cannot resist when a pretty girl bats her eyes and asks please.
Yeah, he tells her, "You owe me," aka I need to get out of this fucking friend zone. And you see how quick she was willing to abuse that grant money that she was
Oh
getting
yeah,
from the college.
I'll pay you some
She-
money.
She instantly was like, "I'll give you part of the grant."
Yep. So later on that night, we see Elizabeth FaceTiming her boyfriend Damien while he walks to his car after leaving work. And he is kind of being a dick. He's basically like, you're getting pranked. You just need to get over it. And if it bothers you that bad, maybe you should stop the research. Now, even though some of that may be true, you shouldn't say that to her. It's someone who just seen a murder of a young girl. whether you think it's fake or not, I mean, if it's bothering you, that's serious. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you don't want to have anybody shoot you down. Like, that sucks.
yeah. Also failed to mention to him that somebody had hacked in and watched them have sex. She doesn't mention that. She
Well,
just mentions the murder
I,
once
I,
again.
I wonder how much they're truly dating.
Yeah. He had to literally drive over there and almost start to rape her in the middle of the night to see her in person. I don't think they have a very healthy relationship.
So during this discussion, Elizabeth turns away from the screen to answer a phone call, and we then see Damien get into his car, and you get a quick glimpse of a man in a burlap sack mask just sitting in the back seat. They want to know if Tamara's home.
This
Very much
is,
a stranger's type mask
yeah,
we see here.
the one thing I hate about this scene is that I wish they would have made it go on longer. Like in the background shot in The Strangers where they're in the house
You mean
and
left him back there
left
while
him back.
Damien was driving or something?
Yeah, just not even while he's driving, just even if it was just a couple seconds. It's so fast.
It is
And
really fast.
It's such a suspenseful moment when you see him there. I wish they would have let it go for a second. Like just had him have no idea that they were in the back seat. And I guess they had to do it where she didn't see it happen. But I do wish they would have found a way to pull that off.
Yeah, it happened so fast that I don't even remember. Maybe the first time I didn't even catch it at first. I think that I might have missed it. I'm not sure. So by the time that your brain like registers this, that he's there, because this is how fast it is, the man lunges for Damien, and we see the screen go black and a notification: Damien has left the chat. He is gone. The next morning, Elizabeth receives a video message from Damien, and when she opens it, it is him at the zoo. I thought that it was going to be a video of them like cutting his fucking head off or something. Like, that
Well,
surprised me.
well, before he gets knocked out in that chat, when they first start talking, he says, "Did you get the video I sent you?" She says, "No, I didn't." He said, "That's weird." So
Oh,
this
they
was
intercepted the
they
video.
intercepted the video and sent it to her and made her think that he was okay. He was on this trip. But this video was actually taken before, and they kind of dropped that little hint in there whenever he asked her about the video, and she says she didn't get it.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that. Totally didn't catch that. I wondered how the fuck they got a video of him at the zoo talking to her.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah.
he took that prior to being kidnapped, and they were able to intercept it and then send it the next day, which makes you think, what the fuck happened? Like, he got kidnapped and now he's fine. Almost makes you think maybe he's in on it for a second or something weird's going on, but no, they intercepted it.
What's really weird is if you're really dating someone, you would know what day they went to the zoo.
You know what else is weird? Going to the zoo by yourself. That sucks.
Why
You
would
need a
you
new
go to the...
relationship if you got to go to the zoo by yourself.
He had to have been there for some reason, like job related or something, because who would go to the zoo by themselves?
I don't know. That's what stood out to me. Like poor Damien.
I mean, I
Yeah,
guess if you're really into animals and no one will go with you,
yeah. He's
sure.
into like Animal Planet, like an old white lady. Like if you don't have kids and you don't have a date and you were out of town, there's probably not a whole lot of people just going to the zoo by themselves.
So after the video, she then receives a FaceTime chat from Damien, and when she clicks to join the chat, it's Damien in his apartment, but something is a little off here. And Elizabeth picks up on it immediately. She can tell pretty much within about 5 seconds that there's something off with the video. So his video feed kind of skips around and rewinds a little bit, and Elizabeth is like calling his name when suddenly the picture changes and it shows a completely cleaned out, empty apartment. All shred of Damien's existence is gone. That would be fucking creepy.
That would be super
Like,
creepy.
so a lot of people go missing. There's a lot of people that go missing in the world, but they're missing and then all of their stuff is also gone is weird.
I think also what's really strange, like when she calls the police, and the police are like, well, obviously he just up and left, that his laptop was sitting
Yeah.
there.
She brings that up.
Like, yeah, like somebody obviously logged in and started this video chat with me and left this laptop sitting here.
Yeah, at this point, if I were in her shoes with this detective, I'd be like, what is your deal? Like, why are you trying to convince me that this is no big deal? Like, if you came home and your fucking wife was missing and your house was empty, you would think that she just left. Like, she just vanished with everything. I mean, it's not like some of his stuff is there. It's literally cleaned out. Which one thing that makes it more scary is you realize that this is not one person
Yeah.
doing this.
That
This is
was
a team of people.
That was my next point, because I was going to say, you just realize not only is this person really good at hacking, they're really good at cleaning.
Yeah.
Like they
And moving.
literally, this apartment's like ready to be moved into. So this is obviously more than just one person to move out an entire apartment's worth of furniture and shit in a day's time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the detective is like being dense on purpose. Like he just doesn't want to fuck with this so bad that even with this stuff staring him in the face, he's still trying to essentially like gaslight her and be like, "Oh, this isn't what you think it is. This is normal. No, this isn't fucking normal.
And
This is weird."
It sucks because this happens in real life.
Yeah.
It does. Like, I mean, how many like unsolved mysteries and stuff and murder cases do you hear of somebody goes missing and they try to report it and the police are just like,
Yeah, fuck times.
they're like, we just don't have enough resources to go after everybody who just up and tries to leave their life behind. But a lot of times, a family knows somebody good enough to know if they're the type of person to do that. But it happens all the time. The police just, it's like they're spread too thin. They don't have enough resources. They don't feel like fucking with it. It's a very realistic thing to happen.
Yeah, I'll pretty much tell everybody now, if somebody goes missing and you go to report them to the police and the police tell you that you have to wait 24 or 48 hours for them to be missing before you can file a police report, a missing persons report. That's not true. It's not true in a single fucking state in this country. You can file a missing persons report at any time. They could be missing an hour and you can file it. Now, will they do anything about it when they've been gone an hour? No, probably not, but they will be in the system. And if they are in a car accident or something they get arrested, it will pop up. But yeah, don't ever let a law enforcement person tell you you can't file a report for a missing friend or family member because you can't.
And if they're giving you a hard time and they tell you can't, you want them to actually be proactive about it, tell them they're suicidal. They'll take that shit serious.
Yeah, another really good thing that works is you say that they have a certain medical condition that they have to take medication for, and their medication is not with them. And if it's your kid, don't ever tell them the kid ran away because they won't do shit about that. But I guess we turn into a true crime podcast here for a moment. But so she tries to call Damien immediately and gets his voicemail. So she then decides to call the detective that she met with earlier in the week. Next, we see Elizabeth and this stupid fucking detective and a couple like uniform cops inside of Damien's like empty apartment. Apparently, everything is gone but his computer, which, as we just said, Elizabeth thinks this is super weird, but the cops think that this is not a big deal because everybody leaves their laptop on recording when they move out. So everybody does that.
That must be an LA thing.
Yeah. So now we know that Elizabeth is at Damien's apartment with the cops. So she's definitely not home. But then we start to see her computer mouse move. So this mysterious hacker then calls Jenny from Elizabeth's computer and gives her the excuse that her webcam is broken. Jenny falls for it and asks her what's up, and the hacker says, "Come over, I have a surprise for you." And Jenny agrees. This is what you were mentioning earlier, where it's weird. When me and my friend interact and I say, "Hey, I'm going to come over," it's never over the computer. It's
Yeah.
never over like a instant messenger on a computer. I'm going to fucking call you. At the closest thing to this would be I would text you on your phone, but I'm not going to correspond with you on these plans over your computer most likely. That's kind of
Yeah,
weird.
especially if your webcam's broke and it's a video chat website. Yeah, this is actually the very spot that I put this in my notes. Does nobody have fucking cell phones? Like, if I did try to video chat you and you said your camera was broke and that you had a surprise, I would call you right then.
I
Also, I thought it was really weird. Elizabeth, I get why she left her webcam running because it has a live feed to his apartment, but why she didn't take her laptop with her so she could keep an eye on that feed if you're going to leave it up.
I assume that she's in kind of shock and she's not really thinking like super clearly. But one thing I will give to this is they are using iPhones and MacBooks. And, a MacBook has iMessage. You can literally text somebody, like you could send a text to another iPhone off of your MacBook. So, I mean, it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility, or it's not as weird. But yeah, I mean, I would make a phone call and say, "Yeah, I'm on the way over," or whatever. But
I don't know a single person who uses their laptop or computer as their main source of contact with their group of friends.
yeah, that's odd. So then we see Jenny arrive and she gets a message that the door is open and to just come in. She walks through the place before getting a message to check the bed. She pulls the covers back to reveal the computer just sitting there. And we then see this masked man sneak up behind her, slam her face into the laptop, and the screen goes black.
Yeah, Jenny got knocked the fuck out.
So these people are not only like fucking with her, but they are now slowly killing off her like circle of friends and family. This is like, this is getting fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, they are definitely not just trying to kill her, but
Torture her.
they want to emotionally torture her before they physically torture her.
So sometime later, she meets with Max, who tells her that it's way too difficult to track where the account was originally chatting from because the IP was like bouncing from server to server. And Elizabeth gets pissed at him and essentially hangs up on him out of frustration. Then, while Elizabeth is taking a nap in her bed, we see her sister write her a message asking her where she has been, and the hacker, pretending to be Elizabeth, of course, responds. The next day, Elizabeth attempts to contact Jenny but gets no response, and while she is doing that, Sally Winters from the college writes her a message that they need to speak immediately. So on the video chat, Sally is pissed. She says that she has been getting calls from very angry board members since Elizabeth's message. Elizabeth is very confused by this because she claims she never sent them any emails. So she checks her email and sees the video of Damien performing vaginal stimulation. It was sent to the heads of the fucking college. Damn.
Yeah, that's rough.
Damn.
I thought it took a really long time, though, for them to respond to that.
No,
I'm wondering
no.
if it didn't get sent immediately.
No, so if you listen to Sally Winters, or when they first start the call, Elizabeth says, "I'm sorry I haven't been responding to your messages." So Sally has been continuously trying to get a hold of her about this, and she's been like ignoring it.
Well, all she had to do was contact her on the den. She doesn't ignore those.
This is true.
And that's how they talked before. And you would think in this scenario, as soon as you seen this, if you were Sally, you would fucking call her and say, "Hey, What the fuck is going on? I find it really weird that Sally did not let her explain at all. Like, Sally's just basically like, fuck you, and you need help. You're clearly not mentally there. She doesn't even let Elizabeth get any words out. If this happened and I was in Sally's position, I would 100% think that somebody probably hacked her
Oh, totally.
and was using this as like blackmail or something. What kind of sense would it make for her to send that out on purpose?
She was
Makes
gonna
no
get
sense.
more grant money.
Yeah, she was trying to get some serious grant money.
Yeah, Sally's just like, I guess she's just really, I don't know, maybe she almost got fired or something for it. She's really pissed off.
Yeah, that would make you think she would want an explanation even more to be able to go say, "Hey, this girl got hacked doing this experiment, and she is being blackmailed."
Yeah, Elizabeth tries to explain, but Sally doesn't want to hear it and informs her that she is putting a hold on the project. So now, with her boyfriend missing, her best friend nowhere to be found, and her project canceled, Elizabeth's life is pretty much a wreck. She continues her search for clues on Damien's disappearance. She tries to watch the video of him walking to his car that night when she got the phone call, but the ending is all like pixelated and fucked up. So they went in and like fucked up the video so she can't see like what happened to him, which is smart. She uses like a video cleanup tool, and it doesn't help the video a ton, but it does clear up one specific frame enough for her to see the masked man sitting in Damien's back seat that night. One thing I like about this scene is they didn't try to do the video edit where it's like enhanced and it's good, like it was still like, even after she worked on it, it was still kind of shitty. Like I could barely see the masked guy.
Yeah, it was definitely shitty. I'm not too familiar with video helping software. I know you don't run it and the video comes out perfect, but the video is still pretty fucked up.
Yeah, that's kind of realistic to what I've seen them use on like surveillance video trying to clean it up. And I mean, you can only do so much with the grain and maybe change some things here or there, but it doesn't come out anywhere near like the TV shows or a lot of movies. It still looks pretty shitty, and I thought this was a pretty good example of keeping it realistic.
Where I think that this is not realistic is the original video was not fucked up like that. So clearly they took this video and edited it. They added that green and shit in it to kind of fuck the video up to hide what happened. So when she went back and looked, they replaced the original file with this that they had edited. If they had went in with the video editor and added shit in front of that, there's no like cleanup that would have gotten rid of that. That would have been layered. But
No
that's
idea.
just getting too far into the weeds.
So she tries to contact the detective multiple times to show him the video, and I guess he's too busy at the donut shop because he doesn't answer or call her back. What a dick. What a dick.
Yeah, this guy sucks.
She then gets a link from Damien's account, which she then clicks, and it fucking deletes everything from her laptop. Why? Why would you do that? I mean, I guess out of desperation, but fuck no. Like, with all this shit going on and you send me a fucking link from a missing person that I'm looking for, no, there's no way I'm gonna click that shit. And maybe if I went and bought like a shitty computer and I'd click it then, just because of fuck that computer. But yeah.
Links, maybe, 10, 15 years ago, links got people all the time. But I feel like, especially a younger generation knows now, it's embedded in us. Do not click links that you are not familiar with. So I assume this just had to be out of desperation.
Well,
But man, are they fucking with her hard. 'Cause
gotta-
they know, like, this whole thing that she's doing is all set up on this grant for this college. And they literally wipe everything she has.
you got to realize this is 10 years ago. This is like
Yeah.
11 years ago. This is, way back then.
Yeah, I feel like even then though, it was pretty common knowledge to not click links. Maybe I'm thinking 10 years before that, back when the internet was first kind of new and, early 2000s, mid 2000s, you got fooled by links. It happened.
So she calls her friend Max over to look at her computer. He basically tells her it's fucked. They get into an argument and she demands Max get out of her house. And at this point, we see that Elizabeth is starting to become unglued.
So two things with the deleting everything. They're clearly just torturing her with this because they could have did this. They have full access to her computer, so they could have did this at any time. They clearly did it while she was controlling the computer just to fuck with her.
Oh, yeah.
But this is the point, too, where I was really starting to think maybe Max is behind it. Especially the way that she kind of is treating him. And he's definitely friend zoned. He's tech savvy. He's clearly got a thing for her. The first thing that happened was she was recorded having sex and probably recorded a bunch of shit that we didn't see in the movie, her undressing and God knows what else. And then killing her boyfriend, who he's probably not very fond of.
I was on board with Max being in on it up until the end of the movie.
Yeah, this is where I was like, this is where I stepped on the ship.
Mm-mm.
This is where I crossed the board. I was on the ship. I'm like, all right, I think Max is in on it.
So later on, we see Elizabeth get a text from her friend Jenny, who has been missing for days. She heads on over to her house, and when she walks in, she finds all the lights off. Just immediately, you should have turned around. Should have turned right around.
How is the broken webcam thing coming up again? She's saying it's open. Come in. Or are they texting? Can't remember if they're texting.
I don't know.
But after everything that's been going on, like all this crazy shit, you don't find it a red flag that they're like, oh, the door's open, come on in. Like you've been standing there knocking on the door for, she says, a while now. It's probably been standing there 5-10 minutes knocking on the door. She can't come to the door, say anything, and then you get a message saying, come on in. That's not and then you open the door and all the lights are off. Like, That's not a fucking major red flag to get the fuck out of there.
I mean, I can see getting to the point where you get the come on in message and you open the door, but the moment you open the door and you see all the fucking lights off is the moment you fucking about face right on out of there. And you call the police.
Yeah.
Hey, my friend who has been missing, not the one I've talked to you about multiple times, but a different one has now went missing. And I've gotten a message from her and told me to come over, and I've opened the door and all the fucking lights are off. Like, can you please fucking at least send one officer inside of there and investigate? Like, good God. I mean, it would take you 10 minutes. Like, I'm not going in there though.
Yeah. She also doesn't try to call her until she's in the house either. Like, with all the red flags, why wouldn't you have tried to call her before you went in the door? That's just makes no sense. But yes, I would have. There's no way I would have continued to go in here after with everything that's going on.
So she goes through the rooms looking for Jenny when she suddenly pulls back the shower curtain in the bathroom and she finds her friend laying in the bathtub full of bloody water. At first glance, it looks like Jenny is dead, but when Elizabeth goes to touch her, we see Jenny jump up and grab Elizabeth and scream. So, unfortunately, Jenny does not make it. She is dead.
Jenny is permanently on the block.
We know from Elizabeth's 911 call that Jenny's wrists were slit open, and later we see Elizabeth reading a suicide note email, I guess.
Yeah,
Send your suicide note by email.
Well, I don't know if it was like a Facebook post or what.
I said it was an email.
An email. Here's what. This is probably the biggest fuck up in the movie for me, is that was clearly how they wrote this off as a suicide. Why is she not telling the police anything that led up to that? Like, If this was really a suicide, she had just been messaging her to come in the house. She was in the tub bleeding to death. There's no way she sent those messages. And she doesn't give any of this to the police, where the police would
Well,
instantly.
we don't know that. Like, there's, there
Well,
may be conversations we don't see. I
if,
don't think the police are doing anything about it.
but if that's the case, this now turns from a suicide to a possible homicide, and then the police are taking shit a lot more serious. Doesn't seem like that's happening. And it almost seems like she kind of takes this suicide thing and kind of, I don't think she believes it, but she's like, oh, fuck, there's nothing I can do. Like, nobody's going to believe it because she has this suicide email.
So next up, Elizabeth gets a video chat message, and when she opens it, it is a POV video, so kind of like a body cam, of a man breaking into her sister's house in the middle of the day while her sister folds clothes. Elizabeth then video calls her sister to warn her, but unfortunately, the video is all skippy and like cutting in and out before the call finally drops. I don't understand why you'd video call her. Call her on the regular phone. Something this important. Don't use the internet. Use like phones that have been around a lot longer and a lot more stable. Like, this is important. Fuck the internet. Like, can't you just not use the internet for like 10 minutes?
Yeah, your friend's about to die.
It's her sister.
Your sister. I'm sorry. Your sister, who is pregnant, is literally about to be killed, and you're going to get on your laptop and video chat her.
Even today, this is what, 11 years later, video chatting is still not super reliable. You still see
or
it
that
where
popular.
it cuts out. Well, that's probably why it's not that popular, is because it's not what we all thought it was going to be, where it's like, sitting in front of a TV, where it's that kind of quality. It's really choppy, things cut out, video cuts out. Yeah, just use a phone, man.
Yeah, somebody who's used a lot of like Microsoft Teams and WebEx and stuff for work, it's not super reliable, and it's not great. I could not imagine if somebody sent me a video of them breaking into your house about to kill you, and me being like, oh my God, let me get on Omegle or chat roulette.
We then see her sister get attacked by two men dressed in jumpsuits wearing the burlap sack masks we seen in Damien and Jenny's attack. They are very similarly dressed to the two dudes from Vacancy.
Yeah.
A little bit of a Vacancy callback here. They tie her up and place tape over her mouth. One gets on top of her and begins dragging a knife over her pregnant belly. When we suddenly hear police sirens approaching. You've got to be a fucked up motherfucker to like hold a pregnant woman down and drag like a knife over her belt. What is wrong with you?
Well, clearly, as we know what happens in this movie, these are some really fucked up people. And this has happened in real life.
How many all these fucked up people meet though?
Look at like the Manson murders. The Manson family murders, I should say. This unfortunately happens. It's really, really, really fucked up. I don't know how, even if you were into killing people, you could possibly be into that. Like cutting a baby out or killing a pregnant woman. I don't know. That's pretty bad. But this is the part in the movie that is significant in the sense that we now know for a fact there's multiple people in this.
Yeah, so the two men then just casually get up and walk out of the house, dropping the camera down in the backyard. The next part, in my opinion, is one of the creepiest, scariest parts of the movie.
Agreed.
So later on, we see at her sister's house, there are cops like all over the place. And a detective is sitting with Elizabeth and her sister, and we see an unknown officer pick up the camera that was dropped in the yard, which is now in a plastic evidence bag. He brings it inside and he sits it on the table facing the two sisters as it's recording. The main detective asks to speak with Elizabeth alone and they walk off into the kitchen. And then we hear the unknown officer begin to ask the sister some really personal questions.
Inappropriate questions, yeah.
Like, where is her husband? And she says she's not married. And he's like, well, where's the baby's father? And she answers that he's not in the picture. And this cop kind of gives her shit about this, which is weird.
Well, that's because this cop is clearly in on this.
Yeah, so this was the point where it dawned on me. Oh my God, there is a cop that is in on this. That is in on this whole group of people, because obviously this is a group of people. They have people on the fucking police force.
Well, either it's somebody that's part of the police department, which I think is probably more likely, like you were just saying, or somebody pretending to be a cop who walked up, which would be really ballsy to do.
I think that'd be really hard.
This is the part of the movie where you realize the Max theory starts fading and you realize this is bigger than what we thought.
Yeah, this was really crazy because I think that it wasn't just a guy pretending, because no other cops ever stopped him. It was like they knew him. No one ever he came up to go through the the barricade and they were like, "Who are you?" They just let him in. He had no problem coming in there. No one asked him who he was. I feel like everybody knew him. And then you realize fuck, man, they not only have a cop on the inside, but they have a detective or something on the inside.
Yeah, the scary part is too that you don't know who this is.
No, you never see his face.
Yeah, you don't see their face. So even in this next scene we're about to get to, when she's has this cop escort her back to the house, we don't know who that is. We don't know if it could have been him. We don't know. Now, obviously, there's somebody else following video in this, but it's just creepy that it's so much bigger than what you think it is leading up to this. We both at this point thought Max was in on it. It was probably somebody she knew. This is where that kind of starts fading and you realize that there is clearly it's bigger. And if there's a cop involved in this, the police are no help.
It's not only big, it's powerful, is what that tells you. So this unknown officer, he walks out with the camera, he removes it from the bag, and then begins filming the front of the house. And then we see that he sees a uniformed officer escort Elizabeth to his police car in order to take her home. He then follows the police car to Elizabeth's place and watches them both go in. Upstairs from Elizabeth's laptop camera, we see that the cop has checked the rooms and is pretty much given her the all clear to pack a few items because she plans on going back to her sister's for the night. And while packing, she gets a video message from Max. I wouldn't fucking open it.
No, I would be done with the laptop.
I'd be totally finished.
I would destroy the laptop. I would be done with this whole fucking thing. This is not only ruined your whole job thing you had going with your grant money, it's ruined your career probably, and it's caused a bunch of people to get killed. Just let go of the laptop. Just let it go.
I would immediately go and get the other cop and say, here you go.
And not only is she still using the laptop, she's still using the Den website.
Yeah.
What?
So she opens it like a dumbass, and when she opens it, she sees that Max's place has been ransacked. I mean, shit is everywhere. And we also see that the main detective guy arrive at Max's place and immediately recognize that there is some sketchy shit going on. Because he's a cop. It's in his blood. You know who would have solved this already?
Scooby-Doo.
Frank motherfucking McRae. Maniac Cop.
Yeah.
Best detective ever. He would have had this shit solved day one.
Yeah, that guy That guy was pretty fucking good.
He was always 4 steps ahead of everybody else.
But would he have been 4 steps ahead if somebody in the police department would have been on the inside?
He was like, he was in Maniac Cop. He was like,
yeah, wait a minute.
This is a cop.
They did have somebody actually on the inside. The cop who worked in the mailroom, although she probably wasn't much help in any investigations.
He suspected it, though.
Yeah.
Even when the commissioner argued with him, and he's like, this is a cop. He's like, you think this is a cop? He's like, yeah, this is a cop. Frank McRae, man.
I wonder with this part, I don't think they ever really mention it. Maybe it's something I missed. But what led the police to Max's apartment in the first place?
I mean, I assume Elizabeth mentioned him, but I don't know. I mean, I don't really think too hard about. I don't think the details in the story are super accurate.
Well, I picked up on this because I was still under the impression that Max was in on it. So, like, what did the cops pick up that led them to Max's house in the first place? Because this main detective doesn't just, like, go check on him. He literally goes there and fucking goes in his house, like, breaks in.
I mean, I just assumed Elizabeth was like, he can back up my story.
I wondered if this cop started suspecting that Max could have been in on it too.
Yeah, maybe. But no surprise to anybody, we see the detective get blasted in the back with a goddamn, like, was it a mini sledgehammer or something?
I think it was a sledgehammer. It was a pleasant surprise too. I did not see it coming.
And while laying on the floor in pain, he gets the hammer right through his fucking eye. It was good. Good kill. In a movie that doesn't have a ton of kills, this was good. Elizabeth's lights then suddenly shut off. She, of course, starts to freak out. She opens her front door to get the patrol officer's attention, but he is dead and chained to the front door. This was a very Jason Voorhees thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, they totally, like, Jason did his super quiet, chain somebody up to the door just for the shock of it.
It's very similar to when Alice opened that door and that dude was hanging on the back of it with, like, the arrow in his eye.
Yeah.
It's like that same thing.
Or all the people falling out of the trees and shit in the woods that he's done rigged up. Jason is notorious for rigging his bodies up in traps for people.
Yeah.
He just I think he enjoys the scare.
And I enjoy that he does it.
Yeah.
It's entertaining to me.
Also, like, she also at this point discovers she has a camera in her vent too, which we don't know how long it's been there.
Yeah, we assume it's probably been there for a while because of something we'll talk about later on in the end. So Elizabeth runs back into her place where the masked men are now attempting to break in. And once again, if I were her, if I were in her shoes, and I've said it a couple times, I would have cut the camera light off and I would have sat in, like, a really dark part of the room. And when they got, like, close to where I was hiding, like, because you could hear them walking up, like, obviously they're going to break in, I'd start fucking swinging that fucking knife. Like, I would get the element of surprise on them. But if you have the camera with the light on, they automatically know where you are in that room. Like, you're fucked. I think she played it wrong.
She was watching videos on, like, guns.
She didn't buy one?
She didn't get a gun. I don't even know why they put that in the movie if she never got a gun.
I think they put it in there to show, like, she's getting to the point where she thinks she needs a gun. Like, she's been at that point.
Yeah, far past that point. The scene may have been much different had she got a gun.
But one does manage to break in and attack her from behind. They struggle on the ground for a bit, but Elizabeth manages to stab him with a butcher knife, and then she just goes to town on this motherfucker.
Yeah, this guy sucks. How anticlimactic.
He was new.
They finally go after her, and he literally, like, he throws her on the ground. He does get a good throw in there, and that's it. He gets stabbed by, like, a 120-pound chick, gets stabbed to death.
We do see later on in the movie, though, like, Elizabeth, she's kind of a badass, though.
Yeah, I think I know the scene that you're referring to, but we'll get to that.
So after she decides that he is dead enough, she grabs the camera and takes off out her front door and begins running down the street. She has made it. She is free. She has final girl energy. Then boom. She runs right into one of the dudes with the mask and the screen goes black. Sucks for her. She then wakes up in the same bathroom that the guy cut his leg off in and saw, and she is chained to the wall. And we also see that she has a camera like strapped to her head. So we're going to get the whole video feed of all the fucked up shit she's about to go through. Kind of gives you a little bit of a hint of what's going on here. She sees on a video monitor Damien and Max, and they both have been beaten really badly. We then see Max get a large piece of clear plastic wrapped around his head as he begins to suffocate, and Max has now left the chat. A masked guard then comes in to get Elizabeth, but apparently she's a badass because she pulls some kind of fucking ninja maneuver onto this big ass dude's back and chokes him to death with her chain.
So I don't know if you clearly didn't pick up on. That's actually a woman. There's women involved in this too.
I know there is one a little bit later on, but I didn't pick up on this one being a woman.
Yeah, the one that comes in there that she takes the keys from and unlocks herself. That's a woman.
Huh.
Yeah. So what I initially thought when I seen that, I was like, oh God, they didn't like take her sister or something and send her in there with like a gag on to where she couldn't talk and she killed her, because you can tell it's a woman if you look close. And I thought that's what was going to happen. Then she was going to take the mask off and see like her sister was like gagged or duct taped mouth with the mask on and couldn't say anything. But no, they didn't go that deep. But yes, this is at the point where you realize, yeah, there's women involved in this too.
So she then grabs his keys from his belt and frees herself, or her belt, and frees herself. Some girl power. She then begins to navigate her way through this dilapidated, dirty ass, dark building.
Bro, this is where Hostel was filmed.
Yes, yeah, this is very hostile.
Very, very hostile-like.
She comes across this like bathroom, maybe? It's like a room that's all tile, and it's literally covered in blood.
Yeah,
I mean, everywhere.
This is such very hostile vibes. Like all these rooms are clearly murder rooms where people have been killed in them. And it's like this pretty much like an abandoned factory of some sort.
If I seen that, I'd be like, I gotta go.
Yeah, I think she's already in that mood. I don't know why she stopped for this long. Like she was like anything could surprise her at this point. But yeah, I'm sure that she's got to be in her head at this point. Like, okay, it's time to get the fuck out of here.
Like, I gotta go. My mom's here. She's out front. She's gonna pick me up.
And then now the purge begins.
And while hiding from one of the guards who is hot on her trail, we hear the alarm signal that the purge has begun.
Yes, it is the exact alarm that they use for the purge.
This siren goes off to alert everyone that they have an escapee, so she ends up running up some stairs and out the door, where she finds herself outside in the middle of nowhere. So it's like she's, from what I can tell, I think she's in the California desert.
Yeah, they've taken her clearly out of LA, out of the city, and they are somewhere out in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Good news for her, though, there are a bunch of cars here. Some of them are definitely broken down, but, you know, one of them's got to work. And what do you know? A bad guy comes pulling up in a working car right in front of her. He jumps out and runs straight at her. She drops him like a fucking bad habit and steals the car. And as soon as she is hauling ass to these dirt roads, she just gets fucking T-boned from this like old tow truck. And that's the end of that. We then see someone by the name of Brienne88 begin to log into the den. And what do you know? It is the English girl that Elizabeth met earlier in the movie. One of the only nice, regular people in this cesspool of a website. And she begins to kind of skip through the people. She's on the den too, doing stupid shit. And she gets a message from our girl, Elizabeth B.
She assumes her camera's broke.
But Brianna asks Elizabeth if her webcam is broken, which, surprisingly, she says it's not broken. We then see a video of Elizabeth bloody, restrained, and struggling to get free. She is hanging by a rope with only her tippy toes standing on a bucket. A man in a burlap mask then violently kicks the bucket out from under her, and we see a very realistic, very fucked up image of her strangling to death. I almost want to say I think this went on for too long. This
Yeah,
scene fucks me up the most out of the whole movie.
yeah, this was, I think, the most intense scene of the movie, because they did it very realistic,
Yeah.
because she is she's her mouth is duct taped, so all you can hear is her, like, flapping around trying to get down as she's strangling to death. And obviously, unlike a lot of movies, unless you break your neck, it takes a long time to choke out, and they let it run.
Yeah, they don't cut this thing short, and that's why I said it's like almost too long because I think that you as a person, when you've watched so many movies, you kind of have that timing of about how long something like this lasts, like a shot of it before they cut away. And we go past that point, and I think that that's what makes us feel uncomfortable is like, "Oh god, how long are we going to sit here and watch this poor girl die?" Like, I don't I don't really okay, we've went out of the area of fun and we've now went into uncomfortable. Yeah, great scene. Makes you feel fucked up though. So as we get a close up of her face, she is dying. The masked man then suddenly cuts the rope and she falls to the floor, very much still alive. This is so fucking brutal because I almost wonder, have they been doing this to her? Because like I know over some of the terrorist groups in the Middle East, one thing that they do to torture you for so long is mock executions, where they
Yeah.
run you through the execution over, and you think this is it. Finally, this is going to be the one time they do it for real, and then they cut it short right at the last minute, and it's fucking mental torture.
Well, the big reason they do that too is so when they do their videos, so you're not panicking. So it's very clean, which is why a lot of times, if you've ever seen any of like the terrorist executions or even some of the cartel executions, the people are so calm because they've already been through this multiple times. But I think you do make a good point. We don't know how long that she's been going through this.
Yeah, this all this is just like, so brutal. So then, out of nowhere, one of the men just walk over to Elizabeth and shoot her in the head. And the camera kind of like pans back a little bit, and we see this computer screen that says Elizabeth B died on May 7th at 11:49 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do you want to follow another person's narrative? Click here to shop our catalog of 7,981 full-length real-life videos. And as Billy Mays would say,
But wait, there's more.
to the right of Elizabeth's video here, it says this timeline includes full webcam takeover, home surveillance feeds, over 120 hours of footage, interactive torture, POV, friends and family, 50 free photos, and nudity. Good God, I really fucking hope this doesn't exist in real life. This was terrible. That somebody would pay to watch this. And one of the important things here is it says in her videos specifically is there's interactive torture. So I'm wondering if this people that are watching this like live or whatever that are doing this interactive torture, are they like did they finally just be like, yeah, go ahead and just shoot her in the head, like we've been doing this for X amount of time. Kind of goes back to we don't know how long that she's been being tortured like this. We don't really have a time. I mean, it literally even says like 120 hours of footage, so we don't know how long she's been there at this point.
Well, so I paused it and looked on there too as he's kind of looking through this website, and they watched the entire thing, like
Yeah.
from the very beginning of talking to her, her family, the people that she knew that got kidnapped. Like they get to watch all of this, and thought the interactive torture was interesting, very similar to Hostel, but this is like a updated.
This is worse.
Yeah, this is like an updated internet age version of that, where they don't have to go to a place and do these things. They can actually pay and pick the torture. They can pick what's done and sit and watch it from home.
So we see it is basically just some, I assume, rich ass dude just sitting at his computer watching this sick shit. And he begins to browse other people's torture videos, which I want to point out, each video even has a fucking rating, which is gross. And it only costs $99 to watch. So this guy clicks the newest video, which says, put in your premium account info now to watch Brienne88's video, which, we remember who she is. And the cycle of despicable and depraved human behavior continues as this fuckface puts his card info in and starts the video. And just then, we see his young teenage son quietly open the door behind him and begin to watch. What a fucked up ending.
I like that they had Brienne. She lived in the UK, so you really get a scope of how big this thing is. It's not just like people in LA. This is obviously all over the world. Very good ending. Like I said, I think it was a very hostile take on dark web snuff videos. I think the scariest part of this to me is not the validity of live video chat snuff killings, if they actually exist or not. We know the technology to do this actually exists in real life. We know that real life snuff films and real faces of death are on the dark web. Like, anybody who's looked at links on the dark web has any experience in that. There is whole categories with links to shit like this. Like, there is real snuff films and shit that you can access. Now, whether or not they're live
scary
feeds or not, doesn't really matter, in the sense that we know that the technology exists. But I think the scariest part of this ending is that we know there are people out there who enjoy watching this stuff and are willing to pay. And it could be anybody. That's the fucked up part about this ending. This is a regular guy who looks like he's successful, lives in a nice house. He's sitting at his house, and his 10-year-old son walks through the door, and that's how the movie ends. And it's scary because, like I said, we know that stuff like this exists on the dark web. Maybe not live killings, but we know that the technology exists for live killings, and it could be anybody. You don't know who's paying to watch this stuff, and it's very real.
Yeah, that's why this movie scares the fuck out of me. That's why I said at the beginning that when I get through this movie, I want to fucking turn off my computer, my phone, and I want to put it in a box somewhere and go to the mountains, because this would be worse than a nightmare for this to happen. This is horrendous for this to happen to you. So the original ending to this film was that Elizabeth died in the car accident when the truck hits her. And she actually was supposed to get thrown from the car. And it was later changed to her dying on the webcam while someone else watches, to show that the game is about to repeat. So this whole fucked up ending, they added at the very end. And,
I think that was a good thing.
It was.
Think that makes the movie.
It did. I mean, that's what makes this movie to me so memorable. It really, without this crazy ending, it really could have fell into with the Unfriendeds and stuff, where just that period of found footage horror films on the internet, they really kind of blend together. And in my opinion, this stands out because the ending is so fucked up, and it's really a scary subject matter. So I think that was a really smart idea on their part to go back and change this before it came out.
Yeah. There's this movie is not full of awesome gore. It has some kills, not a whole lot. Doesn't have a whole lot of things that you would think a typical scary movie has. It has a lot of suspense, but this ending, it it almost feels like it hits close to home because we know that these people exist. People who watch and like watching shit like this, and the technology exists for it, and it makes you feel a certain way. And I've said it before, any movie that can make you feel an emotion, no matter what that emotion is, did a good job.
This movie makes me feel like gross, like I need to shower and throw away all my electronics.
Need to wash your dick puppet.
So Melanie Paglia said that in order to prepare for the role, she began going on actual chat sites, including chat roulette, which apparently creeped her out a lot. She said most of the people were very weird and creepy, and almost all the guys were naked and touching themselves. She said that it was very disturbing and made her feel a lot more vulnerable than she originally thought it would, and has no plans to ever visit those sites again.
Yeah, and what's scary is people's like kids on there. I feel like half the people on there is probably like teenagers who are
Oh,
bored.
God, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Monitor
Yeah,
your
it
kids'
scares-
internet shit,
scares
man.
me to death. Having kids, man. Tough.
When we were kids, like the internet was such a new thing. We didn't have it for so long. And I don't even think it was this fucking crazy as it is now.
Yeah, we didn't have the video stuff. I
Yeah.
remember AOL chat rooms and talking to random people like when we first got the internet. And, it was a big deal because, to parents, you didn't know who your kid was talking to. But I remember being a kid thinking like, that's stupid. This isn't a big deal. And it's scary that kids think that way. They don't know that this shit can really go bad.
All right, so ratings and kill count. The total kills is 11. Young girl from the beginning who got her throat slashed. Jenny, whose wrists were slashed. The detective who got beaten to death. Masked Man 1, who was stabbed to death by Elizabeth. Max, who was suffocated with a plastic bag. Damien, who was beaten to death. Masked Man 2, who was beaten and strangled with a chain by Elizabeth. Masked Woman, killed with hammer by Elizabeth. Masked Man 3, killed with a hammer by Elizabeth. Elizabeth, who was shot in the head with a gun. And then Brienne. We don't know how she dies, but if she's got a death video, she is dead. So she's number 11. All right, favorite kill. I went with the detective. I liked the way it looked. It looked good. Honestly, like Elizabeth's kill is the best kill, but it makes me feel too weird. Like I don't like it. It's the best looking, but yeah, it freaks me out.
Well,
So I didn't pick that one.
I don't get so freaked out. So I picked Elizabeth. I think like I said, a movie that makes you feel something did a really good job. That scene it feels extremely real. It's very suspenseful, and then it's almost a surprise because they cut her down and you think they're just going to continue to torture her, and then they do a just sudden gunshot to the head, and I thought the gunshot was done really well. But I thought, with the hanging, the gunshot, even the setting, the room that they shot this scene in, I thought everything just made this scene very unsettling, and it's by far for me the best kill of the movie.
I will agree, it is the best kill. So, rating. I gave this movie a 3.7. Not really a huge fan of the screen found footage stuff. I will say that this one, because of her saying that she was going to be on the chat roulette like all the time, I think it gave us a good excuse of why we were seeing so much footage. And then we find out later on that these guys had hacked her computer and were recording her even when she wasn't recording herself. So it really lended that excuse for found footage, which a lot of found footage movies have that problem. The why is he still holding the camera kind of problem.
No, I agree with
Yeah.
that completely.
But for a found footage movie, it's a good movie. This movie scares the shit out of me, unfortunately. Like I said before, I'm not a big tech computer guy and phone guy. I don't know how easy this is. I do know that it's probably possible, but it just freaks me out. And then I also know that this is something similar has probably happened to people, and that's terrible. Uh, but I love the fact that this movie told that story because no one else really does. I don't think anybody else did this as well.
Yeah, I can agree with those. I gave it a 3.4.
Mm.
I think it's a really good original kind of found footage take on snuff films and torture. I thought the acting was really good, the effects were great. This movie, more than anything else, does a really good job at being very suspenseful. So a lot of scenes throughout this movie that have a lot of suspense to them. But overall, everything aside, I think what gives this movie the rating it got was the ending of it and the realness of it, like we talked about. It's very Hostel, but with Hostel was one of those things that, maybe there was rumors about or speculated, but it's never like, well, that I know of, it never busted like a real big torture chain in another country. But we knew it, it was possible, and people did get killed in other countries that were there visiting. With this, like we talked about, we know the technology exists. We know that there is fucked up snuff films on the internet. So it could be very plausible. But worse than anything is we know that people who would pay to watch these are out there.
Yep.
They are on the dark web paying to watch real faces of death like videos and, gore porn and just weird ass shit. There's people out there right now paying for it. And, it's the fact that it could be anybody. It could be your neighbor, your coworker, somebody who works at your kid's school. The idea of that to me is terrifying.
Yeah, this is a heavy movie. Definitely check it out. I mean, if you hate found footage, then you're not going to like it. But if you're fine with found footage or you really like it, I think you'll really like this movie. Definitely don't go into it thinking it's going to be a fun movie because it's not fun. It's really just as every step you go, it just gets more and more fucked up. So if you want that experience, this has it. This gives it to you good.
Outside of the ending of this movie, I would probably give this near a 3 or a high 2. Like, I think I agree with what you said. This movie blends in a lot with the Unfriended and Friends Request and those type of movies. I do really like that they actually gave a reason for everything to be on camera, which made a lot more sense. But the movie overall, most of it just blends in with those movies. It's not like a over-the-top superb movie. I think the ending, though, is what really, really, really makes this movie.
All right, well, that's going to be it for us. We thank you guys for listening. Please give us a follow or a like if you enjoy the show. Check out the website. Check out the socials. Tell a friend, a family member, or your favorite chat website about the show. We hope to see you next time. Any last words?
Dick Puppet has no final words.
The Syndicate has left the chat.